Sugar Breeze topic number two. Sugar Breeze topic number two says, let's have another little discussion about Project 2025. So I'm going to play, it's about 10 minutes. I'm going to play this and then we will discuss it.
Every couple of business days. So it really takes some earth-shattering to catch my attention.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets.
Y'all might have seen some videos about Project 2025, or maybe you haven't. Maybe it's too complicated for you to pay attention, or you dislike the drama around it. I feel you. Trust me. This one's pretty important, though. Project 2025 is a conservative political strategy designed to make the Elephant Party substantially more effective. I happen to have a pretty intelligent audience, which has been a gift and a challenge, depending on the topic. Most of y'all are probably asking one question after getting things like this in the mail. Is Project 2025 really tied to Trump or no? Project 2025 has an official website. So before we go any further, we should probably check it out. After the first click, it tells us to get the facts. I bet. I'll bite. Then we hit a page claiming to have the truth about Project 2025. And this first paragraph is already full of some inflammatory shit. Who wrote it? That's right below. The site claims this collection of policy suggestions was put together by 100 respected organizations from across the conservative movement. That's vague. Who actually wrote it? After clicking this link, we finally got the full list of contributors. I've already seen some names that concern me based on what I know about them, and Googling Christopher Miller led me directly to this article by CNN that makes it a whole lot easier for us to cut to the chase. 6 of Trump's cabinet secretaries, 4 of Trump's appointed ambassadors, and 130 other people from his administration were involved in drafting this 900-page document. Not to mention the Heritage Foundation, which created this site and took the lead on organizing this effort. They're essentially a right-leaning think tank that issues policy recommendations on a regular basis. I'm sure you could call the author's list circumstantial evidence, and that would be true. If you're determined not to see a connection, you won't see it. Here's some more, though, just to be sure. The Washington Post reported in 2022 that Trump was on a private flight with the Heritage Foundation's organizer on his way to their conference, where he said this.
This country is going to hell. The critical job of institutions such as Heritage is to lay the groundwork, and Heritage does such an incredible job at that. This is a great group, and they're going to lay the groundwork and detail plans for exactly what our movement will do and what your movement will do when the American people give us a colossal mandate to save America. And that's coming. That's coming.
Still circumstantial? Feeling a little more solid? Yeah, I thought so too. His name is in the document at least 300 times, and the overlap with his stated plans is way too extensive. So let's get into this summary in their own words. The left has spent millions fear-mongering. This is hilarious. That's a perfect definition of everything the right has done since before I was even born. I actually don't think I've ever seen a positive conservative political ad in my life. It's not typically in their playbook. To further that point, look at what comes next. They list several things that either don't have easy solutions, were caused by conservative policies in the first place, or are extremely vague. The goal here is to catch your attention via buzzwords and get you hype enough to think they're going to fight for us, the American people. What's this deep state they refer to here? That has a definition too. A body of people, typically influential members of government agencies or the military, believed to be involved in the secret manipulation or control of government policy. Not only is that fear-mongering to the extreme, it implies that if there is this shadowy cabal of supervillains, that none of them are conservatives. Hilarious, to say the least. Only leftists are elites? Word. Secure the border. The reason this is first on the list is xenophobia. While keeping our borders secure is a very logical goal for any nation, we have to put this into context. We're no longer living in a political environment where there's respectful debate about two politicians' platforms. Nah, it's a catfight. Fox News and conservative politicians have said some pretty inflammatory things about migrants that help us see through the respectable veneer here.
A surge of migrants is straining resources in big cities and small. You know this. It's all across the nation.
Isabella Diaz from Mother Jones points out some dialogue from David Brogg, organizer of the first National Conservatism Conference that drew out famous conservatives like Missouri Senator John Hawley, Ohio Senator and now Republican Vice Presidential nominee J.D. Vance, Fox News' Tucker Carlson, and tech billionaire Peter Thiel. Brogg opened his first speech like this: "We give no aid to our immigrants when we permit the erosion of the very culture that motivated them to move here in the first place." See what I mean? That sentence pretends to focus on making the country better for illegal immigrants, as if it's their real priority. Kind of like pro-life people tend to pretend they care about children once they leave the womb.
Why you pouring me? I'm right.
They say they want to enforce existing laws, aggressively build a wall on the southern border, identify and reject fraudulent asylum claims, restore the Remain in Mexico policy for asylum seekers while they're processing, and, of course, arresting, detaining, and removing immigration violators. Red flags. Existing laws include temporary protections from deportation for non-citizens and extended green cards. That last one, as of earlier this year. Y'all plan to enforce those or no? Restoring Remain in Mexico sounds like you clearly don't. How do you define fraudulent claims? Last I checked, an alarming number of conservatives thought the election itself was fraudulent.
Dave, I do not consider you an expert on this issue. As a matter of fact, I consider you a major problem. For you to say there were no dead voters in Georgia, there was thousands of dead voters in Georgia. And I'm going to tell you, there was blatant outright fraud. Trump won Georgia. I know you don't like for me to say that, but I am convinced that he did.
She's convinced. For the record, the former president lost Georgia by 11,779 votes in a state run by Republicans.
As for these aggressive construction projects, I think we've seen how that has gone so far, and I think we know exactly who promoted that most loudly.
Build that wall. Build that wall. Build that wall. Build that wall.
This chart from a Brookings report lays out the estimates for the construction of the border wall around 2017. And it's clear that all conservatives drastically underestimated the cost. Not only that, but a 30-foot wall that runs 6 feet deep can still very much be scaled or tunneled under. Not only that, but most drugs that cross the border don't need to cross illegally. They're brought over via one of the 52 legal ports of entry. The push for the wall is full of holes, pun intended. Bruh, that's just one category of Project 2025, and I'm already tired of talking about it. For the rest of these, I'll pick out one or two things that stand out as particularly dangerous just to get the point across. Unleashing energy. Under this section, they say they want to stop collaborating with and funding progressive organizations supporting climate fanaticism. Like fanatics. As we've seen time and time again, fanaticism is typically defined as caring about climate change at all, or bringing it up during discussions about our oil and gas consumption. Anything that threatens the power of big oil gotta go. Not only that, but they got some real nerve mentioning climate at all, considering Trump's gutting of the EPA during his administration. They're the primary office tasked with keeping environmental regulations updated and enforced. So if they have a climate change denier leading them, or lack funding in general, it doesn't exactly help in times of crisis. I know, I said I'd keep it to one, but the next point is connected. They say they want to end the war on fossil fuels, which is ridiculous. Directing funding towards sustainable energy sources is not the same thing as a war on fossil fuels. Pretty sure I heard I love fracking during the last debate too. I'm not sure if y'all caught that though. Climate change should be focused on science, even if you disagree that it's happening. This manifesto plans to replace credible scientists with Trump loyalists who will bend the facts to say whatever the hell he wants them to. This one smells like a conspiracy theory from the title alone. De-weaponize the federal government and dismantle the deep state. I think the thing I dislike most about these talking points is how contradictory they are. Consolidating power in the executive branch is a major facet of their overall strategy, which is echoed by Trump telling people that in 4 years, you won't have to vote again. The fact that woke propaganda made it into an official summary of Project 2025 is kind of all I need to say. Woke has become a buzzword that refers to anything involving minorities or queer people. And it
All right, we'll end that there. Interesting, some of the things he talked about here. We're going to continue that discussion in a prompt coming up next. Should we start with number 2? Let's have another little discussion about Project 2025. Let me mix it up this time. Let me start with Oni on this one. Oni, what say you to this?
Well, yeah. This Project 2025, it's interesting. I mean, I didn't read it, obviously. Because why would I read that? Why would I read 900 pages? But the thing about like the fact that there isn't a smoking gun on Trump, kind of goes against what the Democrats are, trying to make it seem like there is a smoking gun. But I guess the circumstantial evidence does suggest, hey, if Obama were, if Trump were put into office, then his cabinet would be supporters of a certain 900-page document that was pretty what you would consider pretty negative. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know where Black people were in the last 20, 30 years. I don't see how Black people don't understand that white folk don't like them. Like, the white conservatives do not like them. And it's kind of at the point where it's a little bit on the ridiculous side how Black people just don't get it. It's just kind of on the ridiculous side how Black people just don't get it. Now, what I will say is this. I recently got a chance to read some white fascist literature. This brother on Twitter was telling me I got to read Might is Right. I read it. It's actually pretty damn good. But the opinion, it's pretty good. It's pretty good if you're just looking at it like from a white person's perspective, right? But this person's opinion of Black people and women, obviously, is awful. Like, it's awful to the point of, like you are a lower species. You are not supposed to be in our country. We don't want you here. And, just looking through, even just the headlines of Project 2025, you're not a person to them. This Black man saying, hey, calmly saying, like, he will likely like this is a man who we will see on a tree if he's not careful around these white people. Okay, we will see him on a tree, and that's how these white people look at this guy. Trigger asked who is the author. I think it's like Ragnar or something like that. Some like, it's not a popular guy, but it's written back in 19 something, so like 1902 or something like that. And it includes the 14 words, which is kind of surprising because people thought the 14 words was more recent. But anyway, and 14 words, for those who don't know, it's just like white supremacist code. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, I think it's actually like just a little bit like if you kind of get who this Heritage Foundation, who this what this kind of white fascist movement is really about, right? You as a black person, if you feel like the white fascist movement is trying to infiltrate the government, you should be frightened. Now, that's not to say that the Democrats don't have, let's say, foreign elements, small hat foreign elements in their in their policy making, because Democrats do, right? And so it really comes, and and I'm not saying that element likes black people either, right? Um, so it really kind of comes down to, you're in a really shitty position if you're a black person, and I guess I'll just say a black person in America. Of course, I'm gonna get some, pushback from my brother underwater, right? No, I'm joking. I shouldn't say that. But but what I'm saying is that, yeah, I mean, if you're a black person in America, you really do have like you're really put into a terrible position where you're either where the white fascists are coming up in the Republican Party big time, where it used to kind of be, oh, maybe the white, I don't want to say capitalists, but maybe the white Wall Street types were really on the Republican side and on the Democratic side, obviously. But now it's kind of like, if you're really flirting with the option of the white fascists who are really kind of about the extermination of black people in America, right? It's if you really feel like that's the threat coming on, you're pretty damn calm, because they are not fit to play no games with black folk. Like, these are people
Tell
who would
him,
hang
tell
you.
him, tell him.
Yeah, these are people who will hang you from a tree. This is not like it's not the same. Like, you can say the small hats, have their they have their bigotry, obviously, since 2,000, 3,000 years, right? But if you're talking about people who were behind the race riots, just to, or people who bombed your Black Wall Street just because you don't got Black Wall Street anymore. Okay, you don't have anything close to that, but they just bombed it just because you were successful. Yeah, if that's who if you seriously believe that is the threat of government, of national executive power in your country, then you're pretty damn calm. Because like I said, I just read through their literature. You're subhuman. And according to them, because you're weak and because you're subhuman, you should be subjugated. Not that you might be subjugated, you should be subjugated. Nature demands it. So yeah, so good luck. If you seriously believe that this is the circumstance ahead, then like you're insane. like there's something like you just missed the memo. You weren't paying attention. And good luck, because I'm gonna be in Africa. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna see no damn white boys.
Appreciate that. Oh yeah, I think
That's what you think.
By the way, for those who don't know, the 14 words are: we must secure the existence of our people and a future for white children. Those are the 14 words. With that said, let's hear from Jose next. Jose, what say you?
Yeah, there's a lot of deception, because I was I don't know if it's an English language expression, but I was on the wrong leg. They had me on the wrong leg, so I was kind of like, with this discussion between my ears. In the discussion between my ears, I thought they were setting up Trump and shoving this project into his shoes. Another expression that I don't know if it's used in English, but anyway, I hope you can follow me. But apparently, it belongs to him, and not only a cabal behind him. I look at people like Trump and Hitler I don't see them similar in what they want. No, the similarity that I see is Hitler was lost in his ego and his speed vaccines, and Trump is lost in his ego, and both have no idea what type of monsters are surrounding them. So I'm looking forward to Trump destroying them from the inside with his narcissistic me, and I want to do this and I want to do that. But I don't know. He might trip, or I don't know. He might get hit by a train. You know what I'm saying? And then the people around him may take over, just like they dominate the Democratic Party, the military industry, the pharma, and etc. etc. So yeah, I'm hoping he will do what he did as 45, cause a lot of back and forth, and holding up the machine, the military industrial complex. I hope that he will do that again. But yeah, it looks it doesn't look good this time with his capo in Jerusalem, with Elon Musk and shit. So yeah, I'm afraid this time we have to, like Oni said, we have to take this shit really serious, and yeah, my motto is step aside, watch the fireworks from afar while you build and prepare and arm yourself, because they eventually, if Russia and China loses, we're done. If they can take on Russia and China, Africa is either genocide or slavery again. But yeah, that's my take.
Appreciate that, Jose. That's a good take. Let me hear from Anthony McPhail on this. Let's have another little discussion about Project 2025. Anthony, let's see you. Anthony, you're muted if you're talking. Oh, wait a minute. All right, go ahead, Anthony.
Hey, can you hear me, Coco?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just okay. This one, I'm gonna go from this angle right here. Okay, I like what both of the brothers just. I agree with some of what both of the brothers just said, man. What Oni said and what our brother Jose just said. But I'm like, I want us to be mindful that this is not this. Okay, this project 2025 thing and these think tanks, like they brought up the Heritage Foundation. I mean, I remember when, I think it was somewhere in the early 80s. In the early 80s, I think, the first time that I'd ever I remember hearing about the Heritage Foundation. They had, what's that white girl name is, or Ariana Huffington or something like that. I think it was Ariana Huffington. She was like the face. She was the face of the Heritage Foundation. You know what I'm saying? You remember her, Coco?
Yeah, my mic is muted. My mic is muted. So when you're talking, my mic is muted.
Okay.
Scrap on mute. So, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So, okay. But what I'm saying is, these white nationalist think tanks. No, I mean, this is not something new. I mean, you could go back to the '60s where they had with the John Birch Society. You know what I'm saying? And even before then. I mean, they've always had that, like these kind of think tanks or these organizations, these groups that main goal was the preservation, of the white race and the white rule here in America and around the world, for as long as they could do it. I mean, it's not nothing new, man. They've always had that. They've always had that. And and for us, we gotta I don't know, man. I'm just kind of like, what really gets me is that we surprised. Like we surprised that something like this exists. You know what I'm saying? I mean, and that makes me feel like we ain't taking it seriously, man. We are in a war. You remember what Dr. Wright said, man? He said, we are in a race war. And like in what the other party said, and the thing about it, we don't even know it. You know what I'm saying? We don't even know it. Talking about us as black people, as African people, all over the world. We don't even know it. That these people's ultimate goal and design is to eradicate us. And eradicate us means not only just, okay, say, well, we're just going to genocide them and kill them all. That's one part of it. But eradicating us is also, we're going to make them irrelevant. You know what I'm saying? We're going to make you irrelevant in your own place where you live at. Okay, yeah. Okay, Africa, you got we have all of the resources and everything that we have in Africa. But guess what? You don't control none of it. You know what I'm saying? We control that shit. No, they control that shit. And I'm just saying, it's just, I mean, it's too late in the game. It's too late in the game for us to just be catching up, man. I mean, like we just catching up. I mean, these are things we've been hearing. I mean, our teachers have been telling us this stuff for the last 50 years. You know what I'm saying? Malcolm X told us. I mean, plenty of brothers. Marcus Garvey told us. I mean, these are things we got to get serious, man. That's what I'm saying. We have to get serious. We got to get down to the serious business of being serious. You know what I'm saying? And with all of this, I don't give a damn. Look here. This is what they do. They'll say, well, okay, we'll give you a Barack Obama, or we'll give you a Kamala Harris. You know, when you think you're making progress, you got a man of color or a woman of color as your president. But you got to listen to what they say. When the first thing they say, God bless America, or they say, and then we friends that are America and Israel are friends, or America and Britain and all this, right then, you should know right then, that ain't none of your friends. You know what I'm saying? That's your enemy right there. No, it's your enemy. It's your enemy in blackface. I mean, because that's the way they operate. I mean, I remember. I mean, from the late '60s, early '70s. This is how they came around with it. They say, okay, now you had the so-called the Black Power movement, the Civil Rights movement. Now for the most part, when you set aside the Black Panther Party or the Radical Brothers and Sisters, the movement was mostly powered by who? By the black church. It was powered by it was minister this, reverend this, reverend that. Okay, in the '70s, okay, after they killed Martin Luther King and killed it got other brothers and sisters off the scene. What they did was they flipped the black church into some other shit. The black church started buying into what? Dr. Billy Grahamism. You know what I'm saying? They started buying into all this evangelical stuff. This later on you came with Pat Robertson and them, which led into the Heritage Foundation. And so what they did was flip our minds from being, from the radical side, from seeing things the way they are, to going into this conservative kind of stuff. And this is why now you see Negroes running around and talking about they're conservatives and talking about this, and we believe in conservative principles and all this old foolishness right here. And don't get me wrong, I ain't letting the Democrats out because a wolf and a fox is family. You know what I'm saying? Ain't neither one of them no good. Neither one of them ain't any good. Kamala ain't shit and Donald Trump ain't shit. Neither one of them. What I'm saying, we got the only solution that we have for ourselves as black people and as African people everywhere is we have to go for ourselves. We got to do it for ourselves. I understand what Brother Jose was saying. If they defeat China and Russia, we through. I understand that part, the sentiment where he's coming from, but I can't agree with that. Because you know what? If the Chinese is a man and the Russian is a man, and they could do for themselves, we as black men and black women, why we can't do for our damn selves? You know what I'm saying? So we need somebody else to protect us. Man, look here. We men and women. We're not little children. Like Bakara say, we're not the children of the world. We got to stand up. Our biggest thing is we got to get together. And we got to put the bullshit aside and come together. That's what we got to do, come together. But we got to wake up because it's too late in the goddamn day for us not to see it. We see shit. I think we cowards, man. I think we cowards because we see this shit going. We see what's going around. We know what's going around on the world, in the world. But we want to lay there and don't want to fight and put the effort, put in the effort to fight for ourselves and fight for our people, fight for our children, and we want to delegate this shit to somebody else. But I don't want to go on too long, man. I'll knock off right there.
Yeah, it seems, and thank you for that, Anthony. It seems Cheryl agreed with you. I was trying to find her earlier comment, but let me just give a shout out to Cheryl for being here, TAC Crew, Tori for being here, and Daily Affirmations by Pauline for all being here. Cheryl earlier said, I don't deny that Project 2025 subjugates blacks, but is Project 2025 really any different from the things that white America has been doing for the past 400 years? I don't see any differences, she says. So I like that comment there. Keep the comments rolling. You guys are doing well with the comments in the chat. I'll try to read them on air if I can. With that said, let's hear from Kofi for this topic here. Let's have another little discussion about Project 2025. Kofi, what say you?
I'm going to respond to the last comment that you have, and I find this is very pervasive among the black electorate. When you provide them with information, is like, it's frustrating when they say things like that. I understand where they're saying it, but it is like, I don't know if they have blinders on or they have selective amnesia. We know what initial threats are to us, right? We know that white supremacy is the issue, and just in our daily lives, right? As far as our initial threat when it comes to like policing, right? When she says, well, hey, white supremacy has been doing this whole time, what's the difference? The difference is the last time something like this was to be done, the rights that we had, the little rights that we have that I feel some of us take for granted, which we need a whole lot more moving forward. White supremacy at one time during the Reconstruction period, you couldn't vote, right? You couldn't vote. You didn't have a say politically, right? You couldn't pretty much be a free person. You were a third class citizen. I say third class citizen because the first citizen was the white straight male, then the white woman, then you and a Native American and who else. So to say, well, when have they not done that? Yeah, they've done that since Reconstruction, and Project 2025 is going to take those things away from you. So my question to that person saying that is, when has there been a time in American history since Reconstruction, since the Civil Rights era, where there's been a concentrated effort to take those? I mean, they always try to chip away at it, but when has there been a concentrated effort on the federal level as far as the president to say, well, I'm going to implement all these things to take us back to the 1930s? And as a woman saying, well, we're going to repeal Roe v. Wade, where a woman doesn't have a choice in having an abortion and have fully autonomy of her body. So I'm glad you read that statement, because that's what's going on. Everything has been like, hey, it's not going to happen here. Hey, what's the big deal? Who said we haven't? It's like, again, I don't know if we have this selective amnesia, or I a firm believer, anything that you have to fight to get, you have to fight to keep. Civil rights wasn't given to you. The right to vote wasn't given to you, right? For you to walk and go where you want without saying, hey, nigga, what you doing over there, was not given to you. Fought for it. Black people fought for it. So anything you have to fight to get, you have to fight to keep. So this, I guess, benign neglect of how we got here, or is no big deal, I really don't get. But in the video that you showed in Project 25, in the conversation that we had yesterday, I mean, some people will say, oh, you're fear-mongering. And I'm like, how is it fear-mongering? In the chat there, as well as you guys, were very good, saying, how is this fear-mongering? And, oh, it's no big deal, we haven't gone through this already. When you had January 6th that happened, and Trump mobilized all his goons pretty much invade the Capitol and stop the transfer of power during the election, only because they didn't like Joe Biden, a white man. So they're tribalistic among themselves. And one thing when I was looking at the January 6th hearing that I never forget, what just reinforces my view of these people, is they had a Capitol Police there, and it was a black Capitol Police, and he's trying to not keep him from not coming further, going into the chambers, and I'll spare you the whole story back and forth. And eventually, they called him a nigger. They're like, "Oh, this nigger, this nigger, that, this nigger, this nigger, that." All of a sudden, Blue Lives Matter don't mean shit. That badge that he has don't mean shit. You know what I'm saying? So they didn't attack him as a police officer not wanting to let him in. They attacked him as a black man. They attack him as a black man. And that's what we need to realize. So Trump saying, the thing about Project 2025 also that people didn't catch, when people hold to him and say, "Hey, what about Project 2025? I don't know anything about it. I don't know anything about it." People keep telling me this Project 25 stuff. I mean, I guess there's good things about it that I like, that's good, but I don't know anything about it. He just totally just manipulated himself. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, wait, that's just total hypocrisy. You say you don't know anything about it, but some of the stuff you say in there, your guess is okay. This man knows about it. And I think it was Oni that said, well, hey, look, Trump is pretty much, it's like benign neglect. Look, you can't link this stuff to me. I don't know anything about it. But as the video state there, the breadcrumbs is leading to him. How are you surrounded yourself with all these people that's a part of your administration, that's a part of your cabinet, and they're all on board with this, and you don't know nothing about it? It just doesn't add up, doesn't make any sense, right? So I find that double talk that he was doing was very interesting. I don't know if you guys remember Trump doing that. So there's, again, my only issue with this, and I forgot the last speaker who spoke. Pretty much, I agree with what they said. I think it was Jose. He was like, stand back, wait for the fireworks, but in the meantime, be ready, get ready. People that are just saying, "Hey, it's no big deal," you're fear mongering, ignore the fact that he wants, he has no problem with his white insurrectionists, but black people just protesting for being slaughtered in the streets. He wanted them shot, right? And the people that were there. The only reason why they're not seeing people like that understand where they're saying what they're saying. The only reason it's not a big fallout like that, because during that time, Trump just figured like, hey, okay, you're Republican, I'm a Republican. So, hey, we're all on board, right? So if I tell you to do something or not to do something, you got to be with me, right? No. And we all know, and we all seen Trump firing people leaving, right? You have his attorney general, William Barr. Like, how many attorney generals he been through? Three. One he fired. One I think two he fired, and the other one was there, and the other one was like, he's an idiot. Like, people in his cabinet is telling you like he is not fit for president. And the only person that was there that didn't allow that to happen with the Black Lives Matter protest, that he says, "No, sir, you can't do that." So you get someone like a J.D. Vance in there that's going to be the vice president, and he's going to put loyalists in there. That shit is going to happen. And then y'all going to look stupid trying to, it's like, "Oh, wow, I didn't know." But what we're trying to let you know, not even we, they are letting you know what we're going to do. So Anthony says something, and I think Bakari says something like, "Why?" It sounds like we're scared. I think we're scared. And I'll just leave it at that.
Well said, Kofi. Well stated. I like the energy. And I got to say, I like the energy in the chat, which reminds me, I can't get to all the messages in the chat. So for those of you who are listening to the playback, and in fact, sometimes maybe some of you are seeing impaired and you're just listening to the audio. There's a lot of good conversations that happen in the chat. I try to read as many of the comments as I can. But for those of you who can actually tune in and read the chat, make sure to read the chat and follow along with those conversations in the chat. Speaking of which, Cheryl said, Black people fought for integration. Where has that gotten us? Maybe it made sense back then. It makes no sense now. I don't want to live in white neighborhoods. Some of our ancestors did. She goes on to say, on the abortion thing, as a woman, I don't agree with it because they want us to abort our children. That's not progress, brother. She goes on to say, you can't build a Black nation in someone else's nation. I'm sorry, the civil rights Negroes are holding Black people back. They still believe America can change. So that's just some of the comments she made. And Brother Bakari said to Kofi as he was talking, so Kofi, save your energy. These Black people is afraid of a rich white boy. They are showing their slave mind, wanting Trump to win. Now, I'm pretty sure Bakari is not talking about those of us here, but some of y'all listening might be on this Trump wagon. Sounds like scared Negro to me. All right. With that said, let's go to our brother Black Steel. Black Steel, what say you?
Well, this is an interesting conversation. Hold on one second. All right. So this is an interesting conversation. I want to keep it focused on what Project 2025 is saying, because Oni said something about, mentioned about this country already being fascist. And if you read George Jackson, when he said blood in my eye, when he wrote blood in my eye, he said that the fascism is already here. And for Black people, it's been here for a long time. Because fascism being what is called, far right ultra nationalism. So you have the left right spectrum. Fascism is the furthest right. It's far right as you can go. Like that's when you get into the Nazism, right? The Nazis, the Mussolini and his fascist party back in Italy after World War, whatever. So I'm only saying that because yes, if you're Black, this country's already been against you. And I think most Black people realize that. Many of us are just trying to carve out a space where we can live, we can survive. But there's nowhere you can go in America. And it varies from time to time. I feel reasonably safe going to the grocery store, but you never know. At the end of the day, a cracker is a cracker. But I really want to talk about some of the ideas that are with the Project 2025, which really talks about what is called the unitary executive theory, which basically says that the executive branch of the U.S. government, which is controlled by the president, is under the complete control of the president alone. So the idea is that with a unitary executive theory, the president has complete control over that branch. And whatever he decides to do is law, as long as he's the president, which really flies in the face of what the system is supposed to be, checks and balances, right? And I know a lot of people, with good reason, we scoff at the American system of government, but I don't always necessarily want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? I do think it's generally a bad idea to have one person have absolute power over the people. I think that's generally a bad idea. And I do think that there's important for there to be checks and limits on authoritarianism and stuff like that. I think that's generally a good thing. We can see that in ourselves just in how some of the dictatorships and some of the autocrats function in the Caribbean, Africa, Latin America. This is a real thing. So if there was a check on power, a check on some of their ability to just do whatever they want, this is something that's I see as a win. But the idea is that the Project 2025 wants to eliminate that. So then, for example, they want to remove the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment, which basically guaranteed what it was called birthright citizenship. It was intentionally meant for former slaves after the end of the Civil War to be considered citizens of the country. So Project 25 wants to eliminate that. It also wants to eliminate what they call woke propaganda in public schools. They're going to get rid of the Department of Education. They're going to abolish the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency. eliminate the Bureau of Land Management. They're going to eliminate Department of Energy, eliminate climate change. Let's see. This is a hot mess right here. They're going to expand the presidential powers. Basically, the president is basically immune from prosecution. They're going to build more nuclear weapons. They're going to, let's see, there's a lot of stuff here. They intend to abolish FEMA, which is something that is near and dear to my heart right now. They're going to prohibit Medicare from negotiating drug prices, which is something that many elderly Americans don't want to do. It's so much stuff in this document that would really make life miserable for the average American. And let's be honest, the comments that, I'm not gonna have to worry for this because I'm gonna be overseas. When has America ever limited its fuckery to the borders of this nation? I'm sure Libya can attest to that. I'm sure Somalia and Yemen and Vietnam and Iraq and all these other countries can attest. The United States doesn't keep its mess within its borders. But overall, I'm just saying that, yeah, this project is basically the elimination of the checks and balances that were put in place for this country, which there's a large contingent of people who are what you would call Christian nationalists who believe America is a Christian country, even though it's not. But they want to believe it's founded on certain Judeo-Christian principles, whatever. They don't really care about what the Constitution says because in the day, the Bible is more powerful than than what is being said in the Constitution. According to them, they don't really care about the ideals of democracy. And you know what? That's something that they have to do. And I would say that many of the ideas that are already in place, that they're already starting to make those moves. And I think that as the economy gets worse, as the environment gets worse, most Americans, most white Americans at least, they're going to lean hard into this type of stuff because they can never blame their true enemy. They're always going to have a scapegoat. First it was the Mexicans, then it's the illegals, then it's the gay people, then it's just everything that they want to blame everything else for their suffering. Even now, people talking about, oh, they're controlling the weather. That's why there's so many storms, and that's why they're so more powerful. When the idea that this is already happening in front of your face is just ridiculous. They definitely want to, even with healthcare, again, they want to do a Medicaid, eliminate abortion. They've already repealed Roe versus Wade. They sent it back to the states, and now they've made it even more draconian to the point where if you get raped, you can't get an abortion. If you incest, you can't get an abortion. If you're just, you're cooked, as the kids would say. You're gonna have that baby regardless. They make it so the way you can't even go to another state. So if you get raped in Texas and you go to New Jersey to get an abortion, they'll sit up here and they'll try to prosecute you for that. Women have died already. There's women who've already died because they weren't able to get an abortion that would have saved their life. So we are already dealing with this situation now. It's not something that's in the future. It's already happening. But I do believe under Trump presidency, it's going to get worse. But then at the same time, voting for the lesser evil in this country, what has it gotten us? We get the Democrats have moved further and further to the right. So the idea is that we can vote for them and yet they'll do the right thing because they're in office. Many times they work together in collusion with the Republicans. I don't see any. I see very little outcry when it comes to arming the military. I see even the Congressional Black Caucus, who used to be very much against imperialism, are some of its staunch supporters now. So this continuing voting for the lesser evil, we keep voting. At the end of the day, it's still evil. So now here we are voting for a party. We have to consider both. We have a situation where both parties are supporting genocide. what are we doing here? So Project 2025 is definitely a threat, and I'm not going to ignore that threat that it is. But I think the problem is not so much just Project 2025, but the duopoly, the American system itself is a threat to really all life on Earth. Let's just not even consider just Black people. Just consider the entire planet. I think there's going to come a time where there was a threat before, where the powers of the world had to coalesce and convene on what they thought was an enemy, something that was a threat to the entire planet. And I do believe that time will come sooner again rather than later. I'll leave it there. Thanks.
Appreciate it, Black Steel. Let's check in with Buana. Let's see if Buana's sound is good. Buana, are you there?
Can you hear me?
You're cracking up a little bit. Talk again.
I do. Can you hear me?
Now you're cracking up. You're cracking up.
All right. So what I can do tonight is I'll listen, and hopefully the weather is better, because that's what I can do. So I can just listen and just comment in the chat section, I guess, tonight.
All right. Buana will comment in the chat section. His connection is not great. Does anyone else here have any last thoughts on this prompt? Yes, sir. Go
ahead. I believe Black Steel said is more than true. This one politics is worldwide. So everywhere the policy is immigrants, right? And when their faces are pointing in the same direction, it's always a scapegoat. We're gonna slaughter the scapegoat, and in the process, every tentacle of the military-industrial complex wins, right? The construction companies, people that have been planning 50, 100 years ahead in logistics and all kinds of stuff. And when you see them pointing the faces in the same direction, it always ends in bloodshed, be it the Crusades or World War One, two, and in my opinion, those two wars were to facilitate the combustion engine on wheels. And further industrialization. So yeah, now we have to switch from the combustion engine to lithium, and the previous systems need to be cleaned up, and they need turmoil, they need war to deconstruct, destroy, and really rebuild again. So somebody is going to get mushed in the gears. And the previous time it were supposedly the Jews. I don't know, the images that I see from these camps, I believe those are the mentally ill and etc. by the zombie way that they walk around. So I don't know who these Jews were that they eliminated. But by the looks of it, those that fake it today may have been the ones that committed it the previous time. So who's next? Who is going to, everybody? Us black folks are everybody's scapegoat. Even I posted something a few last week. I posted something, and I noticed that in Polish anti-Russian propaganda, the Russians look black, like thick lips, broad nose, a kind of a grayish tint, but to me they look like us, right? Like their cartoons about us. And I'm like, of course it's going to be us. Everywhere where we are in their countries, it's going to be us that they are going to. I mean, today they call it Haitians, tomorrow they call it Africans, the next day they call it African immigrants. It's always us. So my suggestion is that you start packing. At least start packing. Make connections, network with people elsewhere in a dominantly black country, or where you think that you're far enough from the fireworks, because in my eyes, the fireworks are guaranteed. The West needs this shit to survive. The way they gained power is the way they are going to protect it. Just like um, Kofi said, what they it was worth for it was worth fighting for, to conquer the planet, and so they are going to fight to keep it. It's 1 + 1 is 2. So yeah, again, my suggestion is step aside, prepare, watch the fireworks, learn from the fireworks. Are they coming with drones, or with jets, or with the B-52s, or or AKs, or maybe sticks and stones by that time? But they are coming. They are going to come, because to continue industrialized, they need Africa. Yeah, that's it. As I said, the previous 2 world wars were to facilitate the combustion engines and other industrialization. And yeah, those world wars were about Africa. Germany lost its colonies. Why? Because they fought over the colonies, not because Germany was punished for World War I. Of course not. Let's just let's keep it simple. They are preparing for slaughter with their one policy, wide worldwide one policy is immigrants. And there's a technological leap to make. And yeah, just like the previous 2 times, world war. Prepare, move out, prepare, move out, prepare. Thank you.
So I want to say there's something I read from Franz Fanon and Wretched of the Earth, and he kind of mentions it. He's just when you start to hear a speech on Western culture, right? When the colonized here start to hear white people talking about Western culture, they reach for their machetes, but they at least make sure they're close by, because the violence that comes with that, right? My only thing is that I don't think this situation can be avoided, right? It can only be confronted. And I also understand that the Western world, especially American, Western hegemony is a fragile thing. The United States has only been a country in existence for less than 300 years. So, but yet it's already starting to show collapse. They want full spectrum dominance, land, air, sea, space, and they can't have that. That's something that is impossible to maintain. But in their desire to maintain their role as the world's only superpower, they see every country as a challenge to their hegemony, as a threat. And this is not something that they're willing to just go ahead and be like, you know what? Let's just fall back and, let's let the Chinese take control. I could, a war with China is in the cards. They've already mentioned the pivot towards Asia. But the problem is that many of these countries function as U.S. proxies. But when the cat's away, the mice will play. So when the U.S. sends shift its focus towards the Middle East, then Latin America rises up. When they shift its focus to Latin America, then the Middle East rises up. It's like playing whack-a-mole. You can only somebody's gonna get through. And because of that overall instability within their system, right? It's not sustainable. But the idea is that they use these proxies to enforce the will through, especially through our economy, through our control, our America's control of the petrodollar, and just pure naked force. But the threat of force doesn't really have the same effect it used to in the past, especially coming off of 2 back-to-back defeats in Iraq and Afghanistan. The world sees this, and they see that, the emperor has no clothes. He's butt naked, ball swinging in the wind. Pause. So they see this, and this is why there's so much aggression from America in the West, because they know that they've seen the ability to be able to deal with they can't compete with asymmetrical warfare. The Vietnamese showed it, the Iraqis showed it, the people in Afghanistan showed it. Hell, what's going on? The Palestinians are showing it. So even so, no, I caught myself wanting Hagaziki. I didn't say our. That's not our. Listen, that's the government, not our government. They don't represent me just because I live here. But anyways, we see that the very idea of this hegemony is not going to last forever. It can't last forever. So we're going to start. It's going to get worse and worse, I believe, before it gets better. But I do believe that African people this is the time to step into that breach and take advantage of the collapse and take our rightful place as rulers. Not so much rulers, but I believe in a multipolar world, and Africa could be is a force for good and power in that world. I'll leave it there.
Yeah, thank you. I wanna add something short about what I said previous.
Yeah, please be brief, Jose. Go ahead.
Yes, about Russia and and China. It's not that I let them do our work to defend us. No, they are gonna rob against the West. They are gonna rob against each other and waste each other. So by the time they come, there's gonna be a whole lot less of them, all of them. So be it the West eliminated and the Russians see a chance to dominate the world, or be it the Russians and the West eliminated and the Chinese see a chance to dominate the world. They are coming. It's about us. We must prepare. That's it. Thanks.
No problem. I think Anthony is Anthony trying to say something? Go ahead, Anthony.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, Goku. Okay, yeah. I just wanted to say to Jose, I knew that's what you were saying, man. I knew it. I was really saying it for other people who who may have heard it the wrong way. You know what I'm saying? I knew that's what you were saying though. I knew it. I knew it. I agree. I agree with you 100%. I knew what you were saying.
Appreciate that, Anthony. Let's give Buana the last few words, I guess, in the chat. Buana said black men went through Ronald Reagan, George Bush 1 and 2. So the whole big bad racist white man gonna put them in hell they've heard before from the Dems. They need to change that record. He goes on to say the black men have other concerns than racist white men, like immigrants taking their jobs, homophiles teaching their kids, inflation. They worried about that too in America, I assume, or Buana assumes. You know what? In this same prompt during this video, the brother mentioned climate change. So let's go to shoot the breeze topic number 3. Right there, he just mentioned